All right. Hey guys, sorry we are running a little behind. I had some technical difficulties and I'm still having some lighting issues. Didn't realize the window was going to cause so much of a drama, so I feel like I'm broadcasting out of darkness. We are waiting for Joyce to get on, and while we're doing that, I'm going to try to get me some light going on in here to brighten things up. So don't go anywhere. And by the way, if you have questions today and you're listening live on the Google event page, just type in any of your questions right below the event. I'm actually going to put something here now so you can see what I mean. So for those who are not familiar with it, if you have any questions, type here. All right, I just posted that on the event page in light that anyone would have a question as we get started. And let me just check over with Miss Joyce. All right, so bear with me just a moment. Like I said, I'm just going to run and grab a lamp light. So I'm going to put this, take this off of video so you're not being distracted. If anybody comes on though, hey, I am coming back, I promise. All right, so be right back.
I'm in. Can you hear me, Clark? Hello? Hello, hello. Hello.
Hey, Joyce.
You can hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Let me open up the blinds because it's kind of dark in my office.
Okay, we are actually live streaming now, so
Okay, perfect.
give me a second because I had to do the same thing that you did as far as lights. So let me see how we looking now.
Okie dokie.
But I felt like I was in mad darkness for a minute. What did I do?
There you are. Now I can't hear you. You're on mute.
How about now?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
All right. I have. All right. So yeah, that's a lot better. All right. I don't feel like I'm like in mood music or anything like that. All right. So we're ready to get cracking. I know we're a little late, but guess what? It's radio. We can do it.
Yes, we can.
Joyce, before we start with you, I'm just going to toss out a couple things and some PSAs and whatnot. By the way, what I would highly recommend everyone do, because it's going to be another element of marketing and promotion for you that people underestimate, and that is to go ahead and set up your Google Plus page. I don't know how many people have it. I think if you have a Gmail account, you automatically have it. You may not even know you have it, but you do have it. Go ahead and start setting that up. It's similar to Facebook page, but as you know, the power of Google is now unworldly, because they probably are on Mars now. So I highly recommend getting in front of the curve, because sooner or later, Google Plus or having a Google Plus page is going to be highly beneficial. There's tons of things you can do. By the way, for those who are speakers or presenters, coaches, anything that you disseminate information in front of a group or an audience, you really want to start becoming a little bit more proficient in Google Hangout. It's one of the reasons why we do them, is so people can know about them and get better at it. There are people doing some phenomenal things out there in Google Hangout, and you can have up to 10 total people. So you see where Joyce is. I can actually have 9 more people if I chose to on at one time. And if you guys organize it in a way through practice and trial and error, you can certainly have like a panel discussion, a group discussion on any and every topic. And like I said, one of the cool parts about Google Hangout, it's basically Skype on crack. So for those old heads like me who were just getting used to Skype, and then they came out with this, it's a wonderful thing to be able to speak with a group of people all over the world. As long as they have internet, you could interview somebody just as easily in Moscow. Maybe not Moscow, because the internet sucks in Moscow. I think they only get to use it at a certain time. But anyway, you get my point. You could really manifest some cool thing. And a lot of people even take it to the point of hosting events. I'm actually going to host an event myself. I'm going to be leading up to it with one of the series I'm putting out in February. But in the spring, we're going to host an actual like presentational event, or a half-day event using Google Hangout, where speakers come and go, and you know, you've got a moderator and so on and so forth. You can even charge. Did you know that, Joyce?
Yes, I know it now.
Yeah, yeah, you can charge on this jank.
Okay.
So there's ways that you can you know, even have a nominal cost to an event, and then what you would do is you would just have like a password. You would make your event private, and you would have a link that, just like I send a link out to Joyce for her to join me on there, you'll have links. And just like you have links to view this, right now the link is wide open, but I could have privatized it. I could have set up a separate, say, what is it, Eventbrite. And once you paid on Eventbrite, you've gotten an email to everybody who paid saying, okay, here's the actual link to view the private event with special speakers or guests or topics or anything. Maybe you're teaching something that could be anything from how to, you know, make bracelets to, you know, I don't know, how to stand on your head. So anything. All right. So just start using technology. It really advances your platform, and anything you do with your platform that advances, it advances your show, to me, because now you get more speakers. I mean, more people that know that you exist. Always be promoting. And I think it'll be a good tool for you. So Google Plus, just take your time. It's not that hard. If you got a Gmail account, all you have to do is upper right hand corner, there's a bunch of squares inside your email. If you click on that square, it basically is all the Google product, and you'll see Google Plus down there. Click on that, it'll take you to your lead page. You add your headshot, your cover, just like you would do on Facebook, and then begin to you know, have friends come on and join you, just like Facebook. All right. That's what I wanted to start and say. So I want to give a shout out to our newest Seattle show out there on the West Coast, hosted by Miss Cynthia Andrews. It is a fantastic show. I'm really enjoying it, more so because well, it's called Living It Up After 50. I'm 49 and a quarter. So I will be 50 this year. So I'm really looking forward to being a part of the troops. Oh, and it's a very a lively show. She runs a really tight knot show. This is only her second week on. She actually had a blog talk radio show and came over to the family. So shout out to Miss Andrews for her show. By the way, broadcast. I should know it. I'm the engineer. Friday at 11 a.m. But of course, you can catch it in podcast at any time. So much love to her. Big ups to those who won last week's most listened shows. I believe that was let me go look because I don't want to. Paula G. Okay, Paula G. Of the Paula G show, so you can easily remember that. We broadcast 8:30 on Wednesdays, and the Gordons, Elder Frederick and Odelia Gordon. Shout for Victory Thursday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let me make sure I say that because they are actually in Central. Big ups to them. I want to say this as a whole. We are doing, our numbers are really picking up. So I attribute that to the fact that you guys are out there pounding the pavement and you're really pushing the envelope, and hopefully some of the things that we continue to speak on in our hangouts, you guys are applying that, because I really believe if you do apply just a little bit, 10% of what we're saying, you're going to see nominal growth. Biz of the week. And Joyce, thank you so much for sending me those. We'll definitely be getting those in rotation. I want to open the door again for anyone who has a small business organization or an upcoming event that you'd like us to get on board with. Obviously, it's free. So all you have to do is send it to me. If it's a company or business or something like that, be rest assured we're going to get them in rotation. All I need you to do is send me the information, and you'll see them pop up. But let's make sure we are all shouting out our business of the week. All right. Especially for the newbies, because you're still trying to figure out commercial breaks. So I want to make sure you start plugging those in either the beginning, middle, or end. It doesn't matter where you do it, just as long as you do it. Make sure we are, and I want to keep reiterating this, make sure we are promoting the show that directly follows you. Does not matter on which station. If you want to know what show that is, just go to survivalradionetwork.us, look in the program section. It will list all of the shows in chronological order by day and time. So let's make sure we're doing that. And now, this is as good a time as any. Let me turn it over to the one and only host of Faith Walk, that dynamic show out of Atlanta, Georgia. And what is that? Tuesday nights, 8:30. Tuesday night, 7:30. How do I, again, I'm the one engineer. So I'm like, I bet if I showed up at 8:30, anyway, I would never do that, Joyce, ever. And of course, one of the original SRCN shows, Joyce, you went to an event, and I'm very sorry I wasn't able to make it, but I was I was hurting. And that was actually the almost ice day that everybody panicked, but it really became a beautiful day. So I'm glad you, Paula, and I believe Ed Womack got a chance to go out there. And essentially, guys, if you didn't see the advertisement, it was a radio and magazine networking event put on by, I believe, Dee Hill, I think is her name. And wonderful event. I've got to get more actively involved. It's a great way to meet your peers. So, Joyce, talk a little bit about the event, what you got out of it, and would you go back?
I would definitely go back. It was hosted by Dee Hill, and we had a fantastic turnout. I met a lot of people that were in radio, also in magazines. I got business cards. I've been networking with them ever since the event. And yes,
Wow.
I would recommend if she ever has an event, if D Hill ever has an event, please, please, please attend because she is phenomenal and she's doing what she can to help people that are in radio and also have magazines. So she's a very nice person that you should get to know. So look her up on Facebook and all the social media outlets, and please, friend her.
Yeah. So how many people you think showed up? I mean, I'm just curious of how many people got out in the so-called blizzard.
It wasn't a blizzard, but it was like I saw around about 50 people.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
That's a good crowd.
yeah. They even had like music artists came through too.
Okay.
And then
Wow.
people that own small businesses, they came through too because I guess they were trying to find people that were in radio and magazines so that they could, promote their businesses as
Sure.
well.
Absolutely. That's a
Yeah,
smart thing to do.
very smart.
And now, did like you said, you were able to pass out cards or at least
Yeah.
exchange information with other people in the business.
Mhm.
Could you? What was the sense as far as the camaraderie with other people? Because the big thing is that people believe that others in the business won't help you. They won't talk to you. There's no collaboration that can be had. What was your your gut feel from others who were in some way, shape, or form in media as they interacted with everyone?
Everyone, it was like we all came together. No one was, trying to say, okay, I'm just going to stay away from this person or that person. We all got a chance to get up and introduce ourselves. So we were able to promote our shows. Like I said, people have been reaching out to me ever since the event, and I'm still, reaching out to them as well. So there was no ill feelings from anyone. Everybody was, willing to say what they did and then try to find if, we could have a fit together. So
Right.
yeah, it was great. She
Well,
needs to do
Ron,
that once a month.
say that again.
She needs to do that once a month, really.
I'm surprised they don't. Maybe that's something we could probably push her to do. My only thing, and of course this didn't work. This did not work against you because I think this actually was closer to you. But I wish it could. Been somewhere in the middle. That was to me. That was north for me. I mean, I still would have gone if I was able to, but that was the only thing that was a bit challenging for me after I ran the race that I ran and did
Yeah.
all the other stuff afterwards. It was like, oh my God, I got to drive up north. It was like it was too much to do at the time. But maybe we could, it'd be nice if we can float to different areas. One thing about Atlanta, it's a big city, it's a fun city, but for we don't realize for other cities that's like out of town. So, there are some cities, if you're driving 40 minutes, you're in another city. But for us, that's the other side of town. It's like, I remember the joke when I first got to Atlanta was, um, everybody lives 40 minutes from everybody.
That's right.
So get used to it. That's a drop in the bucket, So, but yeah, did at the end of the day, did they say of anything about another event coming up or?
They did mention another event coming up because I think D Hill is trying to coordinate something where she's going to have like radio day.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah, so
All right.
that's the next event. So I'll when she sends the information out, I'm gonna keep track and
Make sure
schedule
we're all
it.
tied. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good, good, good. So we had proper representation for the SRN family, right?
Yep, yep, yep. Y'all had the three
Sweet.
three amigos.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. What a better, not a better three that could be had. Um, so any other thing you want? Oh, what? I want to talk to you a little bit about because it's always good information from someone that's been doing this for as long as you have, Joyce, and I want to make sure people get different perspectives of radio from not just me. But can you remember your first show? Yeah, then if you laughed, you can.
um, no, I can't. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that show.
Wow. Do you remember how you felt? Like,
Oh, I was very, very, very nervous. I've had people say that they can tell a difference from when I started to where I am now. Yeah, I was
wow.
very
Yeah.
nervous.
Yeah. You definitely. I mean, it's a whole nother. The thing that changes, and it is kind of the point I want to get to everyone, especially the newer ones that are coming on, or maybe 6 months or less, is that there's something about your voice
Hmm.
that changes, and it sounds more like you're in control.
Right.
Versus the beginning, you always seem to sound unsure or slightly out of control.
Hmm.
Like you almost don't know, is the mic on? Is my guest here? Everything's a question. After a while, you just become like, and even if they're not, you know exactly what to do if they're not. And I was just wondering, when do you think that transition happened for you, or did it just kind of, like you said, somebody had to tell you? But did you, was there an awareness of, I just feel better about doing this show?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. After doing the show for a year, it
Mm,
kind of gave me a perspective of like what I need to do so I can make my show better. So now
right.
I'm in this second year, and I mean it's like an what do you call it? An epiphany has
Yeah.
hit, because I know what to do, how to get guests, what guests I want to have on the show, and like I said, I've got people coming to me now.
Yeah. See, that's the point. And you can't, there's no shortcut to anything you just said. The fact that your show is, I think you guys are like a year and 6 months or 5 months, somewhere in there, because I think we started in September, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Right. So it's, you're almost a year and a half in, but it's something after a year that you get to reflect on essentially 52 shows,
Hmm.
give or take if you haven't missed any. And what can now you've got a body of work to go back and say, okay, that's how that went. Here are the results. How can I modify that? How can I
Hmm.
change that? And grow from that. And it's no substitute, because I get a lot of people in their first couple of months, and they want this change, right? They want this, and it's natural because you want to get better, but it's something about just longevity. You just kind of have to go through the race. I hate to use race metaphors, but that's what I'm currently doing. So it's familiar. When you run a half marathon, I can tell you about it, and I can give you all the, right about here. But until you do it, until you're in the midst of it, and you're like at mile 6 or 7, you're like, oh, this is what he meant. It's like you just have to kind of go through the pain of being exhausted and tired and fatigued, and then bounce back. And it's kind of like that with radio. You just kind of have to go through messing up,
Yep.
screwing up, making mental mistakes, panicking when there's a technical error that goes on and you think life is going to end, or your guests are going to hate your guts, um, and all the little things. And then finally you come out at the end of it. Not that a year is an end, but it certainly is like an evolution. So
Yeah.
it's a good time to reflect on that. I appreciate you sharing a little bit about that. Is there anything you would do different?
Now, or
Yeah.
when I started?
Yeah, as a newbie.
um, I probably, because in the beginning I wasn't real. I'm going to be honest. In the beginning, I wasn't really doing the research and the promotion of my guests that I needed to do. So if
Mm,
I had to go back, I would have started out doing better research and also promoting the guests in a better way.
wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for being honest with that. That's an excellent point. And we're going to have a Google Hangout on um, just that,
Mhm.
kind of like how to have a great interview.
Yeah.
And I think number one check off on that is you got to do your research,
Yeah.
because it makes you feel a lot more prepared,
Mhm.
and you feel like you know your guests a little more. I mean, if I it, I'm to this day, I've been doing this since 2009. If I don't research my guests properly, I feel out of sorts, and I'm almost scared to ask them a question, because it's like I don't want to ask a stupid question, or I don't want to assume, because you ever had this will happen in radio, if you interview enough people, where you've kind of gone over their bio and you thought you covered everything, and now you ask them a question about a company or something, and they don't even work at that company or anymore, or it doesn't exist. You
Yeah.
kind of get embarrassed because you're like, oh, and they say something like, well, no, that's I did that 2 years ago. Not we don't currently, and you're like, ah. Why did I go there? Just some kind of where if you would have taken, I don't know, 2 seconds longer, or
Mhm.
looked at another site, or YouTubed them, you would have found out. Oh, they no longer do that, or they're no longer with that company, or they're no longer with that station, or whatever.
Mhm.
So, because I get a lot of people who have had radio shows, right?
Mhm.
And you might assume they still have them, and lo and behold, you just say, just for kicks, let me go listen to one of their things, and you're looking at like 2 years ago, right? The last time they aired, and you're like, oh, okay, I would have brought that up, and it may have been, you might bring up something that's not very, um, a good thing in their life. Maybe they quit because of something, they broke up with their co-host, or it could have been, and here you go bringing it back up again. They got to re-explain it. So yeah, it's a lot that goes in. And I tell you, the second year, to me, I've always told people that's your growth year.
Mhm. Yeah.
If you can manage to be in radio, I mean, that first year is kind of like your novice year, your year of just kind of getting used to the car seat. And then your second year is when you feel like you can make plans.
Right.
You do
Exactly.
something different. You can change the format of your show. You can change the intro. You can start maneuvering. You can go out and start meeting people, and you feel confident now as well. I know you do, Joyce, to say, "Hey, I'm a radio show host. I'm a radio personality. I have a show."
Yep.
Right?
Oh,
There's
yeah.
no hesitation at this point
Mhm.
about saying that. And like you said, guests, people are now asking you. That's the other thing that I found interesting after about a year. I believe people take you serious.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have you had anybody say to you, "Oh, you still do that show?"
Yes. Yes. All the time.
Isn't that crazy? Like, what do you mean? Do I still do it? Yeah, well, yeah, I still have the show. But that's the thing. People expect people to quit.
That's it.
So it's kind of the inner negativity of people. Like you still do that little show, you
Yep.
know,
Yep.
or and then you're like, yeah. But then when you're like, oh, absolutely, we're actually rocking this, tonight or what, and
Mhm.
then they're like, oh, okay, well, they kind of respect you in a way now. It's kind of like, oh, okay. And you'd be surprised if people start saying, and I know you know this, but I'm just speaking to who's listening. They
Mhm.
say, oh, I got somebody that'll be great for your show.
Yep.
That sounds familiar, right?
Yeah, high school friend of mine, he's been sending me guests.
Really?
Hmm.
Love it. See, I mean, life gets easier when people send you guests. Oh my God. Your first year, you're like looking under, couches for guests. You're like, please, please come on. And then all of a sudden, it's like somebody says, "Hey, can I be a guest on your show?" You're like, oh, "Okay, well, we're booking for March, and you book it like 3 months out now because you don't
Yeah,
have the space."
that's
Uh,
it.
and I know, Joyce, you have take out the you have two. Well, you have a couple segments built in your show, but you sometimes have one or two guests, right? You have up to two guests, and if you add the segment, you've got to interview three people in the course of 60 minutes, which is a lot what I do.
Yep.
And before I let you go, talk a little bit about the difference in preparing for one guest, okay? Because I remember those days,
Hmm.
and now having to flow through the same amount of time, but
Yes.
now you got to get your intro in, right? You got to set the show up.
Yep.
You got to get that first guest on, and you got to give them enough time to where they feel like it's worth their time.
Hmm.
And then you got your segment, and then you got another guest at the end. And
Hmm.
that's tough.
Yes, it is.
So how do you keep yourself on point? Do you have a mental clock in your head? How does that work for you?
Yes. Well, as far as the clock, I'm always looking at the clock on my laptop to
Oh,
help me,
okay.
yeah, to help me to stay on time. And it's, I mean, to me, it's easy to have the three guests flowing through. It's not hard for me to gauge the time. I always tell my guests ahead of time you have like 10 to 15 minutes for
Right.
your interview, so that they're aware if they're like sharing a message. If I'm interviewing a pastor and they're
Mhm.
sharing a message, they know how much time they have so they can prepare whatever they're going to say within that allotted time. So basically, it's all about communicating with your guests, making sure they know everything that, make sure they call in at a certain time, make
Right.
sure they know, to press one, and also, let them know how much time they have. And then to me, that's all it takes for it to just flow easy. And if
And
one guest doesn't show up, you have to have that quick intuition just to fill something in, which I've learned.
yeah, yeah,
Now
you
a
can extend
skill.
that interview. You can extend that interview out now.
Exactly. Yep.
So one last thing, in terms of preparation, you talked about how you now are much better at preparing, but now preparing for three different people.
Mhm.
Is that, I mean, in your mind, do you have notes per person? Like, okay, these are groups, a set of questions I can ask. Like, how do you do that mental transition from that guy is a pastor, my next is a gospel singer, two
Mhm.
separate questions from two separate cities, doing
Mhm.
two separate things? How are you able to kind of go from, one to the other?
Definitely notes. Yes, I
Notes.
have the
Okay.
person's bio right by me. I have the questions written on their bio that I'm going to ask. And so everything's right there. I have a little table to the left of me right here. Of course, y'all can't see it, but it's me, the little table, and the laptop. And that's how I flow through everything. I've got to have paper, and I've got to have things written down. I can't just do it through memory. So everything's written down. Even the next show that I'm promoting after my show, everything's always written down in my case.
Boy, Joyce just put some nuggets out. See what I'm saying, boy? We're old school coming in the house.
Yes.
You get that nuggets, man. Put some notes down. You know how many people try to remember all that stuff? They're crazy.
You can't.
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah.
It's way too much. And then you're not even factoring the other stuff that could distract you.
Hmm.
So, Joyce, I want to thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you come on. And we're going to do a lot more of interaction with our fellow hosts throughout the year as we go. So, I'll be begging you to come back.
Okay, I'll be glad.
All right. You
This
can
is
hang
fun.
out with me, or you could, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to kind of wrap us up. I do have a couple of ideas I want to share with you guys. So, real quick, uh, the big thing now, what we've been talking about through January, is getting more listeners, right? That's number one on everybody's. How do I get more listeners? And we've talked about things like having Facebook groups, and setting those up and getting people into those. That was the first thing we talked about. I just mentioned Google Plus as being something else you should get into. But one of the things I want to share about, now that you got, hopefully, all of you have Facebook group pages. Now that you have them, what do you do in them? Because just having them and posting your show each week is not enough. So one of the things that I've seen that works, I do it, and I've seen others, even outside of SRN, that do it, and you get better at it. Is, let's say your show, like mine, is on Wednesday. Starting on the weekend and really on Monday, when people start getting more focused again, what I would do if I were you is I would either pose a question on inside your group relating to the topic that you'll be talking about or the theme, or if you're interviewing a particular person, uh, find a catchphrase or something that they speak about, and even if it's find the most, I won't say controversial thing, but something that maybe hits home and challenges people to think outside the box, or to really look within, and pose that question in the group, right? So you can get some chatter about it. So if I saw somebody talking about in a group, and I think it was Coach Ellis Crum, and they had on their show, they was talking about um, sex before marriage. And so the question was, you can obviously see where this is going. Um, so they posed a bunch of questions regarding that, and you can imagine the chatter was all over the place. You had people who were like, "You should stay." You had people that was like, "Well, the cheating and you had all these variables going on. But what it did, it was not so much who's right or wrong; it's getting the chatter going, right? And then what happens is now when you stick on there 2 days before your show or the day before your show, okay, great. Tune in tomorrow. That's what we're going to discuss. We're going to give all these voices out here. And by the way, if you got something to say, come on and dial in. That is a great way to start getting a fan base to each week to figure out, well, what is they talking about now? What's going to be it this week? And every week, get in the habit of posting or posing a question regarding a theme. Make it salacious. Don't just do some boring thing. Just even if it's hyperbole, you just want people to look in your page group, get involved, and then move forward. And so even doing this, even if they're scared to call in and give their opinions, go back to that chat box, okay, that you saw the opinions, and shout out some people. Hey, by the way, Jane Smith says that she believes yada 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 yada. So Jane, if you're listening, hey, feel free to call in and elaborate on that. But now you go back to your guest. What do you think about that? Now, see how you're involving someone who took the time out to give an opinion. You're bringing them in your show. And whether they listen live or they happen to listen later, or somebody might say, they were talking about you on the show the other day. Little things like that, man, they could really ratchet up because everybody likes to hear their name.
Yes, me too.
Even me, I love it. As much as I've done this, I get a kick out of somebody saying, just, hey, Clark Garrison is in the house. Shout out to Clark Garrison. What's up, my man, down there in hot Atlanta? That I'd be like, yeah, I was in the house. So get used to bringing people outside of your little confine, your show, into the show. And a great way of doing that is in your groups where people are commenting. And then you'll start to see a pattern. And eventually, if you continue to do this, and again, bringing people outside of your show, inside your show, they'll start dialing in and giving their own commentary because they'll feel a part of the show. So that is a good strategy. Even to the, I heard somebody said that they were going to start doing this. I think it's a great idea. It's not the only idea, but take ideas like this. Do birthday shout outs.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a great way. It's corny. I know. We've been doing birthday shout outs since I was in elementary school, but they work. People like to hear a little love. So you do it on Facebook anyway, right? You go on somebody's page. Oh, happy birthday, so-and-so. So if they're a friend, that you know them enough, hey, shout out to my girl, so-and-so and so-and-so up there in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's her birthday today. She just finally made her 40th birthday. Shouts out to Fabulous and 40. A little shout out like that. If you take the time out on your show, maybe they don't hear it. Maybe somebody calls them and says, oh yeah, so-and-so gave you a shout out, a birthday love. It makes them feel good. But what happens is, even if they don't hear it, the people who are listening hope that you do it for them. Right? They will. I'm telling you, they'll be like, well, my birthday is next month. Oh, maybe I'll get a shout out, So, I mean, that's how the nature of people are. I mean, you got to realize you're in media. This is a media platform. Stop denouncing or belittling your platform. This is global. Anybody can listen to this, man, and you'd be surprised of the listenership. Last thing I want to go over, and I'll wrap it up, is we're getting ready to make a transition. It's not going to be a requirement, but I highly recommend it. Even I'm technically challenged. Okay, technology is not my friend, but I do it because I know it's the only way you stay in front of the curve. Periscope and Facebook Live. Write those down. Periscope and Facebook Live. We're going to give you guys until March. I want you to start simulcasting your shows or parts of your shows on either one of those platforms. Now, I'm actually getting ready to do Periscope, and already we've got some people. I know Dr. Ed Womack has done it on Periscope before, and I know right now, well, they're off now, but from 9 to 10 this morning, I sat and watched Facebook Live with on on the bench with Mike B. And it's a really cool way to bring a totally different audience for free into your show. Because the cool thing about, say, Facebook Live is anyone who's your Facebook friend can immediately see that you're on. So it's a video component of your already audio show. All right. And it costs you nothing extra. There's like no fees you got to get. And all you need is your phone anyway. So you already got that, right? So you could have your phone sitting up on a little stand or easel if you want to put it on a tripod, whatever, however fancy you want to go, right? Just point it right at you. There's nothing fancy. They're supposed to be organic. It's not supposed to be lights, camera, action, and you're on the TV set. Just have the thing on, pointed up at you. And as you're doing your show, you'll even forget it's on. But as you're doing your show, it's kind of like being in the show for that audience. They can see you, you know, if you're looking at your notes or if you're going over there every now and then, maybe at the commercial breaks, you give them shout out. If you're on Periscope, you know, it shows all the people who are tuned in and they comment and they'll start jumping in the conversation. If you're talking about something important to them, you'll look down and see some comments, and you can even say, hey, on Periscope, they're talking about this, and shout out to so-and-so who gave me that comment. So you've got radio, Periscope, or radio and Facebook Live going on at the same time. It's simulcasting your show. Simulcast is good. And it's free. It's just another way to promote. If you're doing Periscope, that's your Twitter followers that are now getting instant notification that you're on live. Facebook, same thing with that. Oh, by the way, doing Google Hangouts, I saw that they added today because I got an email. Did you get an email, Joyce?
No. I didn't get an email.
I got an email, first time ever. I got to look into it. It was right before I started the show, and it said, your Google Hangout or the Google Hangout that you signed up for is about to go live. I thought that was really cool because they didn't do that before. But that adds it's like that thing, because what happens, and again, this is Google Plus. You know, if you say, oh yeah, I'm gonna check that out, whatever it is, right? And you'll forget because life goes on. But that email, and I saw it on my phone, I could have clicked the yes button on there, and it would have started Google Plus or the Google Hangout that we're listening to. It would have started it on my phone.
Oh, okay.
And I could have just sat there and listened to it then. So again, we're going to give everybody, because we're going to talk about this over and over and over. We might even put some samples up in the private group about periscoping and Facebook Live. I'm going to be doing a lot more research on it so I can give that information to you guys. But go ahead and start playing with them. Get outside your comfort zone. I know you can't, you know, I know because I do my show, and sometimes I'm like in some stuff that I wouldn't want anybody to see because I might be. I never do it in bed, but I learned that lesson. But the point is, so what? You might have to straighten up a little bit or find a better corner or put on a light. I'm telling you, this will maximize. This will double your listenership. Because some people will say, hey, I don't want to listen to it on Periscope. I know about it now. Let me go ahead and dial in, or let me go ahead and switch over and listen to it live on the radio. So that's what's coming down the pipeline. We want to encourage everybody to do it. Two last things. Again, these are things for March. We're shooting out March. I want everybody to work on getting their first sponsor by March. Enough is enough. Time to monetize your shows, guys. I know it's rough. It's hard to ask, but you guys have our numbers are picking up. There's no excuse. Our numbers are phenomenal. I don't even want to talk about it. Anyway, so now's the time to go ahead and be brave. It's getting ready to start warming down, and for us in the South, up in the North, you guys got about another 5 more months. But March, I want you to start, or leading up to March, I don't care if it's just a book sponsor, a $25 book sponsor. See, this is what happens. When you get that first sponsor, it doesn't matter what the nomination is or the nominal fee is. It makes you feel better. about getting the next one. So if you don't get that first one out the way, it's almost impossible to ever feel comfortable with it. But once somebody says, oh, here, and they write you a check or they swipe their card, you're like, oh, okay, that was easy. Wow. And then you realize that your show just made money. The show you do each week, all right, that you pay a fee for, just made money for you. And I'm telling you, when you do that, when it does that, I don't care if it's $5, you start, that little thing goes off in your head and you're like, oh, this ain't that hard. What if I got 10 people to give me $25 a month? You start making $250 and you start thinking, oh no, they need to be doing full commercials at $150 a month. That's nothing for a small business. Let them go to terrestrial radio and see how much that's going to be.
Yeah.
So, but it's you're leery because you've never done it before. You're leery because you don't see your show in that capacity. But once you get it, that first one on, and I'm telling you, I don't care if it's they want to be an affiliate for $25 on the website. Just get some money in your pocket. It's going to be contagious. So we're going to be pushing the envelope. I want everybody to have one sponsor by March, and then watch what happens the rest of the summer. And then the other thing is, I want everyone to have at least, okay, by March, when we're back on here in March, I want you to have a date set up for your first live remote. All right? No more excuses. We got to get outside the house. You got to get in. You got to let the people see you. Got to give the people what they want.
That's right.
All right. So what does that entail? It depends on what your show is about. Stay in the confines of what your show promotes, what your show is about. So if you're talking holistic medicines and ideologies and practices, then you want to go to health fairs and seminars and the retreats and workshops or whatever. Just find something that correlates with your show and ask to cover it. No one's going to say no. I can guarantee you no one is going to sit there and say, no, I really don't want media coverage for my show. Who's going to say that? Or my event? No one's going to say that. And you can have the person on your show. It could be a whole little nice thing, right? So I want you to get started. I want you, and don't worry about the equipment. We're going to be talking about from now until March, the very simple equipment that you need. There are people already on the network that are doing it and are rocking it. So it's not hard. You just got to do one and you'll manifest everything else. So anything else you want to say, Joyce, before we get out of here, let the people go?
No, but Clark, that was some great information. I was taking notes.
Thank you, Joyce.
You're welcome. But can you tell us how we get on Facebook Live? Where do we go?
I honestly cannot.
Okay.
I am more familiar with Periscope, but Mike B is doing, that's why he did his first one today. We talked about it last night. He did it today. So we can figure out the exact ins and outs. And we're going to be disseminating this information to you guys as we learn it. But we want to learn it right so we don't go back and say, oh, yeah, about that other thing. Because I want to say that you can't be, and again, I want to make sure I'm right. But like one of the things I think you have to have an iPhone to be on Facebook Live.
Oh, okay.
Now, I don't know if that's 100% true, but that's the rumor. But I want to be able to come back and say, without a shadow of doubt, if you don't have an iPhone, you're going to have to use the Periscope option.
Okay.
All right. So, but we're getting that information. That's why he did it today, to say, okay, this is what you do. This is where you sign up, and we'll have that information out for you guys. All right. They're both good. There's, you know, Roland Martin, if you guys know Roland Martin, he's in media. He left mainstream media. He has his own platform. He's rocking it, right? This dude is killing the industry, doing exactly what you're doing, right? He does radio first, but he podcasts everything. He does Periscope and Facebook Live. At the same time, he's doing his radio show.
Wow, okay.
So he has two different phones. He's got them set up like on each side. One has Periscope, one has this. He's constantly, you know, he's doing his radio thing, but he's constantly looking down. Okay, that comment, he's writing notes. It's just, you get used to it after a while of just kind of taking in information, looking real quick, seeing what they got to say. But This dude has thousands of people on every platform he's got on. So he is killing the industry right now. Get that. You should start following Roland Martin. You want
Okay.
to know how this looks and
Mhm.
what the next evolution of this is going to be. Follow Roland Martin on Periscope. Get on his Facebook page. Oh,
Mhm.
another thing, I think I want to say this, Joyce, to answer your question.
Mhm.
I think Facebook Live, you have to have a fan page,
Okay.
the one that you actually get people to like.
Mhm.
So that for those who don't have it, that might be the thing to start doing. And as we go to March, because it's a little different in the group page. You can't add people; you got to ask people to come on. But I think you have to have a fan page to do that. But I'll have that information for you. Okay.
Perfect. Perfect.
Well, thank you. You're the best, and SRN, you're the best because we
Yes.
do radio, and we're about to take over the world. You guys ready?
I'm
Oh,
ready.
shout out to our interns. We just had a meeting last night with the ones that are here, but we've got some that aren't here. But we've got a great group of interns. They're new. They're finding their way around, but they're excelling at a rate faster than any interns we've ever had. And what I want to say, guys, if you happen to be working with them, working at any point in time about anything, because they're going to be doing a multiple of things, some with you, some that don't involve you. Reach out to them, make them feel loved. If they're part of your engineering or production crew, it's all about, as we talked about last night, relationships.
Mhm.
So don't feel like you can't give them a buzz or tell them to call you up or sit down on Facebook chat for a couple of minutes and say what your expectations are. This is what I want for my show. They are ready and willing to soak up and do anything it takes to make your show be number one. But you got to communicate with them. If you don't communicate with them, they don't know what to do. They know technically what to do because I'm teaching that. But you know how it's little tweaks and turns that only you know how you want things to roll. And that's a relationship. Just like me and Joyce, I've been doing her show so long. I know exactly what Joyce wants, when she wants it. Before she says it, I'm already there. I've already thought when she says, let's skip the commercial already, I'm like, yeah, I was going to do that anyway. But we got it now because we talked about scenarios when they don't go right. We sit and we chat about it. And now we're like one mind as we go. And that's what you got to have. Your
Mhm.
engineer or producer has to kind of be thinking your way because you might miss a ball. And if they catch you, great. And, that's just makes your life easier. So thanks, everybody. We're getting ready to get out of here. Peace, love, and hair grease.
Amen.
Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you, Clark.